Good morning.
Good morning.
By now, I'm sure you all realize I'm not Reverend Sherry. And my sermon is not the one that's listed in the bulletin for today. How many of us have heard these sayings? Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Don't cry over spilled milk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If your bones ache, it must be a storm of cold weather coming. Don't jump from the frying pan into the fire. In ancient and biblical times, these sayings may have well fit into the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs was written mostly by Solomon, son of David, during his reign from 970 to 930 BC. Solomon is credited with writing chapters 1 through 29. Agur ben Hake, whose name means gatherer, penned chapter 30, and King Lemuel wrote chapter 31. Now, you'll never hear of a King Lemuel in any chapter other than 31 or any other place throughout the Bible, because Lemuel in Hebrew means for God, and this is usually interpreted as a book of Proverbs for God. It is thought that chapter 31 was first taught to Solomon by his mother Bathsheba, whom King David committed adultery with and had her husband slain on the warfield. Now, the author tells us in the first chapter why Proverbs was written. He lists 8 reasons: for instruction and wisdom, for understanding, to gain understanding and judgment and equity, to offer simple prudence or careful management, to offer discretion and knowledge to the young, to increase wisdom of someone already wise, to come to understand wise counsel, and I love this last one, to understand riddles of the wise. Because back in ancient days, a lot of the kings would offer a riddle, and if you couldn't solve it, you were beheaded, or slain, or tortured, or in some like manner. But if you could, you were richly rewarded. Now, the topics of Proverbs can be broken down into 5 topics: wisdom, understanding, laws and commands of God, and then sin and inequity and breaking the laws of God, and finally, comparison between God's ways and humanity's ways. Today, we'll talk about wisdom. Let me share a story with you that is called The Mountain Story, and it was written by an unknown author. A son and his father were out walking in the mountain, and the son slipped and fell, hurt himself, and yelled, "Ah!" To his surprise, he hears a voice somewhere in the mountain yelling, "Ah!" Curious, the son yells, "Who are you?" He receives the answer, "Who are you?" Then he screams to the mountain, "I admire you." The voice answers, "I admire you." Angered at the response, the son screams, "Coward!" He receives back the answer, "Coward!" He looks at his father and asks, "What's going on?" His father smiles and says to him, "My son, pay attention." Then his father yells, "You are a champion!" The mountain responds, "You are a champion!" The boy is surprised, but still doesn't understand. Then the father explains, "People call this voice echo, but really it is life. It gives you back everything you say or do. Our life is simply a reflection of our actions. If you want more love in this world, create more love in your heart. If you want more competence in your team, improve relationship applies in all aspects of life. Life will give you back what you have given to it. Your life is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of you. Wisdom or folly? You decide. Proverbs was written to the young men of Israel. At that time, the men were considered important and in charge of all things. Women were mostly thought of as a possession, like owning cattle or land. Proverbs was offered to the young men that they might learn from them how to act, how to be in charge, and how to handle daily affairs. They were provided so that the men might gain wisdom in life. So what is wisdom? How do we define it? And then, how do we find it in our world today? One definition can be found in Webster's dictionary. Webster defines wisdom as the power of judging rightly and following the soundest course of action based upon knowledge, experience, and understanding. In our societies, we seek wisdom in many ways, some wiser than others. For example, we seek education, either formally by taking classes or going to school, or informally, such as reading, watching a documentary, or listening to a speaker. We also seek psychics who purport that they can tell you the future by reading your palm, or tea leaves, or tarot cards. Incidentally, ancient cultures followed this same thinking. We seek wisdom through talking to others, listening to their experiences, what they have learned through life, and that perhaps we can learn from. And of course, the goal here is to learn from someone who followed the higher road of life and learn from their mistakes and misadventures. But we don't always do that, myself included. Remember reading and hearing about Jim Jones, the cult leader of the People's Temple, who led more than 900 followers in a mass suicide known as the Johnstown Massacre in November of 1978? Jones was reportedly a little weird growing up, but he appeared to care about others, helping to integrate the then-termed black society into restaurants, theaters, churches, and even the telephone company in the 1960s. And that was a major feat back then. Any of you remember the race riots? Oh, yeah. A man like that couldn't be that bad, right? In fact, Jim Jones took into his fold so many non-traditional ethnic peoples that he portrayed his followers as the rainbow family. So sorry, SunCoast and MCC and Gay Pride, but you may have been done a one-uppance many years ago. Jones rose to fame, and it was exponential. He attracted people who were seeking meaning and purpose in life. Those who were fatherless or motherless, fed up with society's rules and religiosity. The then governor of California, Jerry Brown, at a testimonial dinner given for Jim Jones, said of Jones, "This is the man you want to see every day when you look into the mirror." And Harvey Milk wrote to Jones after a visit at the temple, "I found something very dear to me today. I found a sense for being what makes up for all the hours of energy I've placed in this fight. I found what you wanted me to find." Was it wisdom or just sheer wishful thinking by disillusioned peoples following what they thought was a better way of life that fateful day in November of 1978? Well, let's explore what the Bible says about wisdom in Proverbs 2. Okay. Proverbs 2 says, if we want wisdom, we must call out and ask for it. Accept the Word of God. Learn God's commands and wills for our lives. Learn to have an ear for understanding and then an open heart to receive it. And then we must pursue it like a great treasure. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? What do you think we need to call out and ask for wisdom? If we worship an all-knowing God, does not our God know when we want wisdom? When we are seeking wisdom? What happens to a child that is raised in a family where they are always told, you are no good, you will never amount to anything, you are stupid, ugly, clumsy. Or, later on in life, she'll never get that job, you can't do that. You'll never afford that Lexus. Your illness will never be cured. If we are repeatedly told something over and over and over again, or we tell ourselves negative thoughts and self-talk over and over and over again, it will eventually come true because it's self-fulfilling. Instead of claiming goodness and health and peace and, yes, wisdom, only mediocrity, tragedy, and unrest follow us when we speak negatively and fills our hearts, minds, body, and soul with negative thoughts and images of ourselves, our lives, and the world around us. But God tells us to claim the promises given in the Word. Repeat them. Hold fast to them. I am not unloved. God loves me so much that God sent Jesus to die for me. For me. I'm not lonely. I'm a child of God's. I'm not worthless. Jesus came to die for me. I matter. Every time we tell ourselves God's promises, we push that negativity, those negative thoughts and feelings, those demeaning thoughts out of our spirits and begin to fill our spirits up with worth, love, peace, hope, faith, wisdom. That's why we ask for wisdom from God, not for God's sake, but for ourselves. Accept the Word of God. Often a hard task when we realize that the Word was written at a time where women were considered cattle. Divorce was achieved by simple means of giving your wife a piece of paper. Only the male child could gain an inheritance, land, and wealth. Giants stalked the lands. Wars were commonplace. Kings and rulers were often egotistical and short-sighted, interested in getting more land, more money, more control. Sounds like this age, doesn't it? And then to know that this verse was penned by a person who was born out of wedlock. I can just hear the town center gossip now. Hey, did you hear what that Solomon guy said? I can't believe it. But then what did you expect? Look who his mother is. And his father could never keep it in his genes. If you know what I mean. Through wisdom, we have come to realize that God's Word was written for people just like this. Just like us. Those who see themselves as always right, or smarter than everybody else, have no need for wisdom or the Word. In fact, they would undoubtedly change some of the stories and throw others out, and then change the title of the book to The Word According to Fred, or Amy, or Joe, or whatever their name is, because they're the only ones that have it right. But if we call ourselves Christians and understand the culture and context in which the Word was written, we realize that the doctrine, the traditions, the principles, the values in God's Word are still advantageous to us now and can be applied to everyday life. particularly when we, who unlike the Old Testament Jews, have a New Testament and realize that Christ came to give completion through him. If we believe that the Bible is God's Word, then we don't get to pick and choose what chapters or verses we want to believe. We have to believe all of it. We can't rationalize it so that we believe this principle when it fits our situation, or not believe when it is to our advantage not to follow God's direction in our lives. We may wish we could, and I think if we were all honest, we would all say, I've been there, I've done that. I don't feel like sharing my meal with a neighbor that just got out of the hospital. Oh, I saw him come home, but I'm just going to pull my shade down and pretend I didn't see it. Or, I really want to go on vacation, and you know that $1,000 tax refund that I just got will really let me enjoy it and have a good time, so I don't think I'm going to give my tithe to the church Sunday. That would be like Christ saying, it's not really convenient for me to die right now. I think I'll just hold out and wait another 100 years. Maybe crucifixion will have gone out of vogue, and it'll be a lot easier then. Or Jesus saying to us, I think I'll give my life for you, but not you, and certainly not that guy down the block. It is still an all or nothing affair. Have an ear for understanding, and then an open heart to receive it. Did you hear me? Or were you listening? In order to understand, we first have to hear what it is that we want to understand. But often, we hear but do not listen. We refer to this frequently as selective hearing. You've seen this many times. Husband and wife sitting at a kitchen table. The husband's going through the newspaper. The wife brings breakfast. Here you are, Jen, I need you some eggs. Okay, thank you. And honey, I was thinking I have some shopping to do after I drop the children off to daycare. Yeah, sure. And you know, I'd really like to buy that new pair of shoes I want. But they're really, really expensive. They're $50. Yeah. Oh, okay. I bet she could have gotten $100 for a pair of shoes out of something like that. What do you think? That's what you call hearing, but not listening. And hearing without listening will never lead to understanding. How do we gain an understanding for God's Word and will for our lives? We pray for understanding, for clarity of word. We study God's Word. We might even discuss the Word with others in a Bible study. What a novel idea. And then we seek knowledge and opinions on what the Word says from others. And then we pray some more. In prayer and supplication, we ask God to explain. And then we wait. We be still for the Spirit's whisperings. Oh no, not me. Not us. We want it answered now, right this moment. I have to know what this means. What if the world were to end? Or the shoe sale end before I get there? God provides as much understanding as we can integrate into our minds and lives at any one time, or as much as we can safely handle. Very similar to grief, we can only take in what our minds and our souls and spirits allow us to take in. Sometimes God doesn't show us the whole picture because we're not mature enough, we're not ready enough, we're not in the right space or time to fully understand that picture. But a lot of times we get angry with God because we don't realize what's going on. to now, God says, no, it's not your time. It's in my time, not yours. Have an open heart to receive wisdom. Do you know that if you are so busy minding everybody else's business, gossiping about this one or that one, telling others how to do things the right way, which means your way, always correcting others, or finding fault in what they do, we can't possibly be open to receiving anything, yet alone wisdom. An open heart is not closed to others' ideas or opinions that do not coincide with ours. An open heart is not closed to the person at work who is a little strange or aloof. They say that about me too. An open heart is not closed to the teenage kid down the block with his pants hanging around his eye. Well, you know where they are. And playing his hip-hop music. An open heart realizes that everyone is loved by God, has worth because of God, and could have been sent into our lives so that we can learn something from them, be a witness to God's love and peace within our hearts, or to serve, or maybe even just to enjoy them. I believe that as we go through this life, we enter into many people's lives, some for just an instant, a quick smile, a few words at the toll booth, some for just a while, a school buddy, a co-worker, some for a lifetime, a parent, a life partner. For whoever's life we enter, it is intentional, and we leave a part of us with them, and they with us. And perhaps along the way, we learn about wisdom, acceptance, wisdom of forgiveness, wisdom of happiness and peace, wisdom of hope, wisdom of love. Proverbs 2 speaks clearly of how to find and pursue wisdom. And it is frequently found in and from the people that we are around, shopping in the same store with, waiting for an appointment at a doctor's office, perhaps even in the person seated next to you at SunCoast NCC. How many of you have heard of Joyce Meyer? Very famous Assembly of God. I don't really want to call her a preacher because she was given that title without really doing the studying and things for it, but she's very, very insightful, knowledgeable, and wisdom-bound lady. She tells a story about going around a mountain. Remember that song, She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain When She Comes? We all heard that as a kid. She'll be driving 6 white horses, right? And the song goes on and on. But did you ever notice the lady never comes and gets there around the mountain? Wisdom is often like that. If we don't learn wisdom, if we don't learn through our trials and our mistakes or through others, we keep going around that mountain over and over and over again. And it's almost, I can almost hear God up there saying, okay, 5th time, did you get it yet? Do you understand what's going on? Do you understand why you're going through this? That's called wisdom. Seek and you will find. My prayer for all of us is that we gain wisdom and do not have to travel around that mountain too many times. Amen.